you have these gifts, and if you don't use them and you don't contribute to the world, then you're kind of selling the world short. It's not just about you, it's about what you can provide for the world.
His Majesty the King of Chemo.
No,
Iain
please
Ward.
don't call me that.
Welcome to the show.
I know. I go with the whole crown thing as a gimmick, but Jesus Christ, I've never actually been referred to as His Majesty.
I love it. All decked out. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Really and truthfully, I've been following your story for about a year now, and it's super inspiring in so many ways. But for our audience who may not know, I wonder if you could tell everyone a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and what you do, and sort of the pivotal moment that came up in your life not too long ago.
Yeah, so my name is Iain Ward. I go by the King of Chemo because roughly about 3.5 years ago I was doing a medical trial, and during the medical trial where I was only accepted because it looked like I was nothing but fit and healthy, but they did an MRI scan, which is very rare to do in any kind of an MRI. It was just the treatment that we were going to do had a lot to do with the brain, and so when they did the MRI they discovered a tumor which they thought to be benign at the time. However, when we went up for our second checkup, that then was determined to be quite a high risk, looking like it was cancerous. It had grown by 30%. So we went and we had surgery done, a craniotomy, which is the most dangerous planned surgery that you can go under. So I'm glad I'm able to be like, yeah, I went through the best open heart surgery. Never mind that's for cowards. Brain surgery for life. And from that they said, yeah, okay, this is exactly like we thought it was. This is stage 3 cancer. I had a social media channel, very, very small. We're talking like 100 followers on YouTube. It was just me having some fun with video games. But then while I was going through that, I knew I was going to have a scar. I still do. It's just covered with a load of hair. I was going to have a scar, so I was saying to myself, right, well, you're going to have to address this. And I didn't want to make it my thing where it's like, oh yeah, I'm a gamer, but I have brain cancer, so like, follow me with the pity party. I was kind of thinking, here, look, you need to address it because it's going to be very visible, but just make it something small, something simple, where it's like, yep, so every time I get a headshot in a video game, you guys donate like $1, €1, £1 for a charity. But then when they were like, no, this is stage 3 cancer, it's the news that we were expecting, it's not better. So it was like, well, then I'll just go 100% to this charity stuff. And I decided that I would use my my title of being a cancer patient against itself to raise the most money ever for running a marathon.
So a lot of people, they would receive the type of news that you did, and there's really, just a handful of ways that people react. One would be, of course, depression, going inward and, isolating, or another could be, just taking the leftover time you have to enjoy quality time with family. You have a whole new chapter to your life, however long it is, and none of us have a guaranteed life. We're all here renting. Nobody owns on Earth. Yeah. So it's amazing to see someone take that attitude and decide they're going to shatter a record. What can you walk us through that process of from the time you found out to the time you decided, okay, I'm going to go and shatter this guy's record and spend my time here doing this, and then see what comes after that?
Yeah, it was much less of a, I'm going to shatter this guy's record, just I want to break a world record. It's not like sort of like it was I want to do better than that person. I just wanted to push myself and see what can be achieved. And it was a sort of a two-pronged thing. I kind of saw it where it was like Abraham Maslow has a sort of a pyramid of the needs of a human being, and within that he has said that he's got a great quote: "What a man can be, he must be." And it kind of ties into with a book that I read called The Art of War. The War of Art, which is obviously not Samsung, but it's basically going on about how to be creative and sort of the mindset behind it. It's a really good book. It's a very good read. And one of the things in it was it gets to the very last chapter, and I actually have this stapled to a wall back home in London, where it said basically, if you can create, if you can be a brain surgeon, if you can be a rocket scientist, then like you're duty bound to follow that, because not everyone has the gifts that you have been given. And like you can interpret that as a sort of a religious interpretation, or you can just like look at it as a sort of a genetic thing. But you have these gifts, and if you don't use them and you don't contribute to the world, then you're kind of selling the world short. It's not just about you, it's about what you can provide for the world. And I kind of like, it's not so much that I believe in that, but more just I like the idea of thinking about it that way, where it's what you are able to do is more than yourself. And so I kind of was like, right, I have brain cancer. Brain cancer tends to leave your body alone until it gets into affecting your nervous system, and then you're kaput fairly quickly. So okay, from films and television, I can already sort of twist that title around, and I can answer, but I can then do physical feats, and I'm sure a lot of people will be surprised by that, where it's like, hang on, he's definitely got what? He has cancer and he's out doing marathons. Jesus Christ, maybe I should get off my ass and go out running. Even though the cancer doesn't actually affect my, well, for the most part, the cancer doesn't affect my ability to exercise. So I knew, all right, I kind of have a secret advantage there. And so it's much like, you know, what a man can be, he must be. It comes down to I have this opportunity, and because I've had this thought or this idea, if I don't do that, it's like I'm doing a disservice to both myself and the world. So that's kind of where I got the idea from.
I think those are words to live and die by. So I love that a lot. I'm gonna borrow that. That's fantastic. Are there any other mindsets that you find yourself? Because that's a useful nugget there, I would say. I love that quote. But are there any other techniques that you find? Because like you'll hear about this even more recently than ever before in my life. I'm 34, and I've never heard them talk about mental health more often in my life, and I think it's a good thing overall. But also, I think, if there was ever anyone who was going to have the right, let's say, if there is a right, to fall into depression, it would be someone who receives a terminal diagnosis before their time. And so I'm wondering are there any other, like, mindset tricks? I mean, you mentioned exercise. Maybe that's part of it, this mantra. But I'm wondering if there's any little, like, coping mechanisms or tricks or skills that you've used to kind of stay above or away from that sort of depression mentality during your time.
I definitely, something that I've definitely learned over time is when to avoid arguments, and when to avoid like conflicts that you don't actually want, where you sit back and you think, does this matter in this situation? Would an argument here make the slightest benefit?
I'm wondering on a deeper level if obviously you've been going through this for 3 or more years, and you obviously have some insights to share, and we work with a lot of children with cancer, but also adults with cancer is also very challenging and in its own right. But wondering if you have any advice to people or children that are battling cancer to help them through the hard times, and anyone who's going through similar challenges to your own. Is there anything you'd like to say to them?
I'd say the best thing that you can possibly do, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone else comes in and says like, no, this is terrible advice, but this is what, like, I always find that keeping busy is the most important thing. And whether that be if you are incapacitated and you're unable to get up and run or do things physically, like go to your computer. There are things within, like, there's I found that video games I had a bad stint of through a long part of my life, and then I realized about how much of a social aspect of it there is, thanks to YouTube and thanks to streaming services, and how much there is where you can engage with others. And so I think that there's always an avenue that you can go down where you can focus on that rather than get distracted by sort of the bleakness of your situation, because the focusing on it doesn't help. It's almost like there being a fire in a room, and the room is really big, but there's still a fire in there, and you might think that the fire is growing, but going near it isn't going to help because you don't have the tools to put it out. So you can go away from it and it's still there, it's still growing, or it's not growing. It's out of your control, but it's not out of your control where you choose to put your focus. Imagine in that metaphor that you, in that room, that's your focus. So you choose where it goes. You can choose whether it goes to the fire, to the tumor, to the cancer itself, and you know that will be unpleasant. That will burn. The closer you get to it, the more it will burn. Or you can put your focus somewhere else.
I imagine it's much harder in practice, but I love that metaphor. I think based on what I have seen too with a lot of people, that makes a lot of sense. I noticed the patients that are busier seem to be doing better. Whether or not their numbers are better or not, it's hard to say because I'm not a doctor, but they do seem to find joy and find pleasure and find a way out of the immediate vicinity of that fire. So thank you for sharing that. That's a really useful nugget.
Social media does have it's definitely worse at the moment for the population, I think, just in terms of how much attention it sort of sucks out and how people can get quite anxious and self-conscious about it. But there is a lot that it opens up. There's an extreme amount of good, because I think that it's such a gift. I think we need to change how people choose to use it rather than to just shut it down, because I think it's something that's amazing, but that we just need to teach others how to get the most out of it.
I couldn't agree more, and it has the potential to be so incredibly useful. I mean, it is already, but just so incredibly good in time, especially with truthful and honest conversations like this, where people can get a real look into someone's life and their mindset instead of the fake Instagram life that so many people are portraying out there. So I think that this is going to be super helpful in that process, and I think a lot of viewers are going to get a lot out of this chat. So I really do appreciate you coming onto the show and spending some time with us today. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course.
King of Chemo. Have a great day, and keep up with what you're doing. A lot of people are very inspired by it. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Tommy.